Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. In today's video I'll be showing you how I restored the fuel tank in our new Traveler. As it goes every time I'm working on these things, you know, there's a few surprises and a handful of mistakes, but in the end I'll figure it out. Like I've said many times in my videos, I am not a professional mechanic. I'm barely a professional screw-up. This is not a how-to video. This is a how I did it video. I love my Scouts and I love working on them, but I've been known to make a few shade tree mechanic kind of mistakes. But I've had my first Scout for 20 years and it's still on the road. And I've not screwed it up too bad yet, but that's certainly not for lack of trying. So enjoy the video, but remember to watch it all the way through in case I screw it up and have to start over. With that being said, I hope it helps. If you like what you see, like and subscribe. And if not, well, just don't tell anybody. If you've been following my channel, you've seen the Scout 800 I've been working on in Alaska that we're going to drive to Virginia hopefully this coming summer. I was up there working on it. My wife was down here, and when I arrived she surprised me with this little gem. It's a 79 Traveler. I don't know if you'd call it a barn find. It was a garage find. It had been in a garage for about 10 years, and the fellow who owned it had gotten it running and driven it to a shop to have it worked on, and my wife happened to see it at the shop and stopped and asked them if they were interested in selling it, and he said yes and sold it to her. So this was a little surprise I got when I got back. So you know, they had it running at the shop there, and we got it to the house. Well, they got it to the house, my son and my wife, before I even got home to surprise me with it. But as we drove it around a little bit, we realized it was kind of starving for fuel. Did a little looking at the fuel system, and it is just, well, it sat for a while. And it sucked a lot of crud up into the filters and kind of clogged things up a bit, so we're working on that now. Previous owner probably should have had it towed, and the shop should have never tried to start it without cleaning those things up, but here we are. Anyway. So I'm gonna flip around and show you what we've been doing. So I personally know very little about Scout 2s. I've had lots of 800s, a couple of 80s. I've never owned a Scout 2 before. So we dropped the tank here by dropping those two straps, and holy cow, the hose is connected to a late 70s fuel tank. And then this weird thing that was in the body panel here. There's an access door from the inside. Some of the little nipples there are broken off of it. I'm told it's an emissions thing. We're going to bypass that. It won't be necessary here in rural Virginia. And so I dropped the tank out from up and under there. There you go. There's a better view of where it comes from. So you can see it was just the two bolts there. Not terribly difficult. And two bolts on the inside. So there's the access hole. Loosened up those two bolts there to let the filler pipe move a little bit. No major issues. So now you run into the problem of how do you clean a fuel tank? Well, I bought some Pour 15 degreaser detergent stuff and put in it. And I shook and shook and shook, and we decided to go for a ride, go to town. So I just tied it in the back of my truck with the liquid in it. And I've been driving around for a couple of days, letting it slosh around and clean it good. So then today I come out to wash out the stuff and clean it, and we'll take a look at what I find. A little rusty on the surface, not too bad. There's lots of these little vent nipples on it that go to that emissions thing I talked about, and one of them is broken off. And then somebody looks like they tried to use JB Weld or something at some point, but it was disconnected when I even crawled under the Traveler. So that one, most of these I'm just going to cap off. I'll take a a length of hose and screw a bolt into the end and put 2 clamps and call it good. This one I'm probably going to get my son. He's a pretty good welder, and I'll get him to just weld that one up, but surely not until I've cleaned it out good and there's no more fuel vapors in there. 2 more here, same thing. I'll put the hoses, a little piece of hose, and cap them off. But this is what we find. So here is how you get the sending unit out. It has this little ring, and I took a screwdriver and pecked until it slowly turned out of position. Set the ring over to the side there, and then lift this out. And, well, let's just say it does not look good. There's a fair amount of rust in that tank. See if I can't get a light to show you. I don't know if you see in there or not looking great. So now we got to decide what to do. It does not leak. The fuel tank it's non-leaking. One thing to caution you about, I have read online that this is a common leak area, is this O-ring in here. And it is square in shape, or not a round O-ring, in that it can leak. And clearly this one has, well, hit the end of its life. Yeah, you can see that it's not a circle, or maybe at one time it was. We'll have to take a look and see. I'm hoping the new one that I ordered came with it. I ordered one from Anything Scout, so we'll see if it does. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so this is a view inside the tank. I got me a light that I can shine in there for you. As you can see, there's rust. Rust. So much it's hard to describe. So, what do I do? Well, so 20 years ago, my Scout 800 here, when I first bought it, had a beer keg in the back, and that was the fuel tank for the Scout. And what I did was I pulled both tanks and I epoxied the inside of these tanks with a fuel tank repair epoxy. I think it was meant for motorcycles at the time, but because these tanks are fairly small, I just got two cans of it and did the other. And that was 20 years ago, and it's held up very well. And both of these actually had holes in them. I'm thinking I might do the same thing over here at this other one. It seemed to work pretty good. So we might give that a shot. Well, maybe a bit of a change of plan. I've been cleaning on that tank for a while. It's actually not terribly rusty inside. What it is it is a 1-inch deep layer of rust and varnish, like this. So here's a gob of it that came out. There's probably 3 more handfuls so far. And it's like a rust paste. You can ball it up and make a ball out of it again. It's very unusual. But it's varnish is what it is. It's just old gas that is congealed, and then it has a layer of rust in it. The tank itself isn't too bad, but I'm not so sure I'll ever get all that out satisfactorily. So I may be in the market for a new tank. Well, on occasion I've been accused of being a redneck from Virginia. And I'll claim some of the ingenuity aspects of a little redneck engineering. I've committed myself to buying a new tank, but in doing so, I thought I would try something a little different. I read online that there's one of the major Scout places will refurbish them, and they talk about boiling the insides out and coating them. Mine is got a solid inch and a half of, you know, varnished, old, jailed fuel in it that I've soaked and scrubbed and poked at with sticks, but it's still pretty bad. So I thought maybe I would try boiling it out. So on the surface, this could look like a bad idea, but really, there's no fuel left. It's just a lot of water and Dawn dishwashing detergent. What could it hurt? If it doesn't work, I'll throw it away. Here we go. I'll check this out. Well, seeing how much a new metal fuel tank costs will make you do some fairly crazy things. 10 gallons of water full of Dawn dish detergent and a nice rapid boil might loosen up the gel that is in the bottom of the tank. We'll see. Well, unbelievably, it has worked. There's still some spots that have, you know, rust staining, but this is what that epoxy is made to cover, right? The congealed gel gas has all come out, and we are ready to go. So the boiling of the tank, it's hard to do. Okay, sorry. The boiling of the tank seems to have worked as hoped. So there you go. And then as far as the surface, really no worse for wear. Blackened a little bit maybe. Ran over a little bit with the wire brush, and cleans up okay. So we'll take some time and scrub that good and repaint the outside and be as good as new. So epoxy stuff ordered, and when it comes in, I'll finish the video. So you can't have that much rust in your fuel tank and it not come from somewhere. Looking around inside the tank, you can see we had lots of rust spots, and there was one thin spot, but we spent some time welding that up and welding up that one vent tube that had broken off. I'm not much of a welder, but I took some lessons from my son, and I think it turned out okay. So now to clean it. So using my patented fuel tank rotisserie, I put a length of chain in, several large nuts and bolts, and I rolled it around using the cleaners provided, cleaning all the rust out of it, and it seemed to work really good. I followed the directions on the cans explicitly. I believe it was 2 cleanings and then the epoxy, 30 minutes each. About halfway through, I would stop and rotate the fuel tank the other direction to make sure I was getting good coverage and good cleaning. And then we put the epoxy in, and as you can see, it turned out quite nice. The fuel tank is back in the Scout now. It is working good, no leaks whatsoever, and we're able to cruise around a little bit, which has been kind of fun now that we've gotten a little snow. So there you go.